Game 2 of 82 tonight in Boston as the Hawks face the Bruins. Vlasic's back, Soderblom's in goal. Let's get to it on the CHGO Blackhawks pregame show. Game 2 is here. Hawks in Boston tonight to face the Bruins, looking for their first win of the season. Thanks for being with us here on the CHGO Blackhawks pregame show. I'm Jay Zawoski. That's Mario Tirabassi. Sean Anderson's here running the show today, looking very official with your Space Command headset with the microphone and everything.
I didn't see that.
I'm also air traffic control.
Nice. I was
Well,
wondering what those things were.
You're doing what you can during the government shutdown.
That's right. Thank you for helping
I gotta
land planes at O'Hare and Midway whilst producing the show.
Someone's got to do it.
Someone has to do it. Thanks for being with us, everybody. We appreciate you taking time out of your day to join us for the pregame show. Do us a favor, hit that like button for us. Make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube page as well. We're going to hear from Jeff Blashel. We're going to share the lines. You may have heard Vlasic's back. Arvid Soderblom's getting the start and goal. So a lot to get to. Let's hear from Jeff Blashel right away. He'll kind of give you where the Hawks are at today, and we'll give you the lines on the other side. Here's Jeff Blashel, courtesy of the Blackhawks.
I know it's just one game switching up lines, but do you want to find consistent line mates with Bedard? Is that, I know he's gone through a couple cycles throughout the last couple of seasons.
Yeah, I mean, I think in a perfect world you find you find consistent lines if you can, and once you find chemistry, you try to stay with that, and obviously Frankie's line I think has a lot of chemistry, and it's that whole threesome kind of they work well together. So just trying some different things. It wasn't really just one game because it was the exhibition games too, and so trying this a little bit. Docker's played pretty good hockey. He's somebody that I can foresee kind of being in this role eventually. Is he ready for that? Right now, we'll see. And until you kind of try it, you don't know for sure. And but we'll keep. I don't think it has to be a threesome either. I think you kind of can work with pairs and move guys in and out. I mean, that's a way to kind of not have a complete blender, but still. There's times where guys need either a spark or whatnot. So we'll keep working through it.
With you talking about identities, does the way that he plays it, I guess if Mikheiv's playing in the checking line, that you still, I guess, the upsize of some of their games to where they still fit if they're playing up the lineup? Yeah,
and I think, like the one thing on with Connor and Burakovsky is you'd like to have somebody that's a more natural net presence guy, and so he's a real good net presence guy, Docker is, and I think he can, go, important to have guys that are going to go get the puck. I think he can go get the puck in the forecheck, and he's got to continue to maintain kind of that power forward mentality, whether he's playing with Connor or whether he's playing down the lineup. I think it's important that he kind of maintains that identity.
With Grisic, what did you see from him on Tuesday, and do you feel like kind of playing with Murphy might be more of a better fit for him long term, probably?
I mean, I think ultimately I thought he played good. I thought probably him and Connor, they have the most experience in the lineup on Tuesday, and they probably were, throughout most of the game, probably our best defensemen. Their heart rates probably didn't rise as much as the other guys, to be honest with you. We don't wear monitors here, but I bet you the heart rates were pretty high for some of the young guys. So, he brings a real good kind of stabilizing veteran presence. He's always been a really, really smart hockey player. I think he plays within himself, and so when he's playing with Murph, I think him and Murph can be a real good pair together. Kind of a skater puck mover with a big, strong, good defender. So hopefully they're a good pair.
You talked about face-offs the other day. That's been kind of a weakness of this team the past few years, with so many young centers, and certainly a lot of young centers again this year. But what do you focusing on to try to help them improve in that category at least?
I'm not, but Michael Pekka is.
Yeah.
I was a bad goalie. Michael Pekka was a great face-off guy. We were actually just talking about it, and it is a learned process. Most guys, when they come in the league, I think he said when he first came in the league, he was very, very new to playing center when he came in the league, but he was 40-some% for a couple of years until he kind of figured it out, and then he got up to that 55. But you got to work at it. I think the older centers in the league you generally get a better benefit of the doubt from the linesmen as well. Just the reality of relationship building throughout time, and then so when you have young centers, they're up against it, and then they got to find ways to win. So we'll work with each guy's individually different. They're not all the same. There's certain techniques that Michael will work with each guy on, and it'll be a continued process for us.
Well, obviously, we kind of deal with public data a little bit, but that NHL Edge data came out, and I noticed that fourth line, I think, spent the most time in the offensive zone. Was that encouraging, the amount of time they were spending there?
Yeah, we just actually, it's funny you say that because I asked the guys at the end, we had an ozone meeting today, and I asked the guys at the end of the meeting, what line had the most success in the ozone? And I think Bird said it was Fliggy's line, and it was clearly. And I think they did it with a simple formula, and one that I think we all need a little bit more of, and that's, kind of rimming it to the back of the net, getting it up top, shooting it, getting back. It's simple hockey, but what that does and what ozone time does is it's almost like having a really good running game in football. You shrink some of the game. It doesn't get as chaotic. You don't have to defend as much, and I think the less you defend, the less chance you're going to break down and make a mistake. So, I think that the kind of simulating, copying that line's success will be important for the rest of the lines as well, so we can spend more time in the ozone.
That's really good stuff from Jeff Blashel. I love when he gets granular with the information. He's also sharing a lot more than he said he was going to.
Seems like it.
He's letting you know where his head's at. Before we dig too deep into what he said, here are the lines for tonight. You heard him allude to a bunch of those. Bedard centering Burakovsky and Doc. Nazar with Teravainen and Bertuzzi. Dickinson centers Donato and Mikheyev, and Green in the middle with Foligno and Lafferty. Your D pairs Vlasic and Renzel, Kaiser, Levchinov, Grzelcyk, and Murphy, and Arvid Soderblom in goal for the Hawks. He started with Colton Dach. Let's start with Colton Dach. I don't know how permanent this is going to be for him on the top line, but if it becomes like a real viable option that Colton Dach's a guy that can play in the top six, that is a massive revelation and something that you maybe weren't counting on that is just sort of added. Like if you watched, you'll hear it on tomorrow's mini pod, like trying to find where this help is going to come since free agents keep signing. Like if you can get somebody that maybe you don't expect to be able to play that role, that's huge. That's found money.
Yeah, and I think too, with Colton Dach, it doesn't feel like necessarily this is like, oh, he is a first line talent. I think what he's trying to do, Blashel, is find stylistic groups that make sense. And he talked about it in regards to having Bedard and Burakovsky to play together. You want to have more of a natural net front guy in that role to kind of bring that element and be someone who can go and get pucks. Now, Ryan Donato can go and get pucks, but he's not necessarily just a net front guy. We saw last year he was able to kind of elevate his game to kind of round out and be a little bit more multidimensional offensively, so he doesn't just have to stick around the net. Whereas Bertuzzi is kind of that guy in the offensive zone. He's not necessarily creating off a transition. It's when things are set up, that's kind of the area he goes to. Same thing with Colton Dach. Like, he's not necessarily going to create much in transition, but I think when you get set up in the offensive zone, that's where he's going to be able to be most effective, is around that net. And if you have a guy that's in that position who can go and get pucks out of corners behind the net, who can be around for rebounds and deflections, that's really beneficial to have when you have a guy like Burakovsky and Bedard, who are more skilled in their hands. And Blashel has said that Burakovsky's play style offensively can be a little bit more give and go, which can help play with a guy like Bedard. So I think what he's trying to do is stylistically get the lines into a spot where the chemistry is right, the play styles are right, and you just kind of go flowing from there, rather than just saying, well, our three best players have to play together just because they're the most skilled guys.
Look, and we always go back to the dynasty because I think that's where probably the majority of the people that are listening to our show and watching our show, it's when they became Hawks fans, a lot of them. And Brian Bickell was not a first-line talent, but he played in the top line. Andrew Shaw, Christopher Stieg, like, you're trying to find fits, and it was very rarely Hossa, Taves, and Kane. Or you know what I mean? Like they tried. I'm actually looking
unless
here.
it was like
I actually looked up
times,
May 23rd, 2015. So that would be the Cup playoffs. The Hawks lines were Taves, Saad, Hossa, Bickell, Richards, Kane, Vermette, Sharp, Teravainen, Desjardins, Kruger, Shaw.
Yeah,
so like
Sharp's on the third line,
right? You just had guys. You're trying to make lines that work together. Not so much like here's our 3 best forwards. Here's our second. Our 6 best. It's. You're trying to find something that works. So it doesn't necessarily have to be this guy is a top line left winger or right winger for Doc tonight on any team in the league. No, it's a guy who's going to go fill a role that complements the players he's on with. So,
and I like that he's the way he's played through the preseason leading up to tonight. He's getting rewarded for it because clearly there was a lot of messaging towards roster battles, position battles, guys needing to take advantage of opportunities. And I think from start to finish of preseason and training camp, when you look up and down the lineup, as far as guys that needed to go and grasp opportunities, he'd be at the top of the list for me of a guy that it wasn't a guarantee he was going to make this team right out of camp. Levshinov, Rinzel, like kind of you could already pencil them in. But Doc was squarely in the mix of are you going to make the team or are you going to start the season in Rockford? And he emphatically took an NHL spot. Like we were
kind of quickly too.
Yeah, we were like 3 games into the preseason, and it was just like Doc's made this team, and he has done nothing to change that sentiment so far. So I'm happy to see him get rewarded for that. And to your point, if he's a guy that you can say, when you need him necessarily as a necessity, or stylistically he can go and play in your top 6. Like that is an element to Colton Doc, the NHL player, that I don't think many people were ever banking on. So that's a nice feather in your cap there.
Top of your head, career high in points for Brian Bickell.
56.
39.
Career high was 37.
Ooh.
In 2010, 2011, 17 goals, 20 assists. He had 28 points in he had 28 points in 2014-15, 14 goals, 14 assists.
What was his point total in the shortened season, 2013?
2013, he had 9 goals, 14 assists, 23 points in 48 games.
Okay.
So that would have been his point per game.
Point per game, that's his best season.
See, he's on pace for 56 there.
See, there you go.
Yeah,
good job, Sean.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was the playoff where he exploded. But yeah, I mean, having someone like that, it makes a difference. Like think about the seasons that were Brian Bickell's best. He wasn't a guy that was sniping goals. Like it was around the net.
Be in the right place.
He was
on the ice, be ready.
Power forward.
Yeah.
And not to say that Colton Doc is going to be power forward Brian Bickell, but to be able to be in that role, that net front guy, that's again with Colton Doc. Like he got the messaging of this is how you carve your way into the NHL, and he's stuck to it.
He seems to sort of enjoy it too.
Oh, yeah.
He kind of revels in the physicality, and you've seen as he's gotten more comfortable, as a pro and in the organization, he's a guy that walks and talks with a lot of confidence. He believes in himself. Like you said, we were looking ahead to the season, and Colton Doc was probably a name that we had outside looking in.
On the fence,
and almost from you said preseason game 3, it felt like sooner than that to me because it's almost as if the conversation around Colton Doc was like, well, yeah, he's here. Mm-hmm. He's going to be on the team for sure. And I thought, oh, okay, cool. I guess like it's a young guy that maybe we thought would have to compete a little more, but as you said, went out there, earned it anyway, despite having it seem like it was handed to him. I like the way he's played. I just knock on wood that he stays healthy and can deliver. I don't think he's going to be a permanent fixture with Connor Bedard. But
you never know.
Boy, if it worked, that is a huge
maybe tonight is the first step in Colton Doc's lore as top line.
He had to put on Walter Payton's number to become immortal, my friend.
Maybe that was the thing. He was wearing Steve Larmer's number, and it was just like, That's going to be retired soon. Got to
the
change
Larmer
numbers,
jinx on
and
it.
it was
Is that why Burakovsky
it was holding them back.
Less than impressive in the
probably.
first game?
Probably.
Could be. Alex Vlasic back to actually probably the biggest news of the game. And as you heard Blashel talking about, now Matt Grzelcyk moves down to the third pair. He'll play with Connor Murphy. And I like them as kind of the flex tape. Slap those guys on the ice and stop the bleeding for a little bit. Let the pros lower the heart rate, lower the intensity, keep things simple. Dump it in. Let the Foligno types go chase the puck down. Slow things down. I do expect today's game to have a little more of a less frenetic feel to it. I think you're taking away opening night. You're taking away the Florida Panthers. These two teams are – Boston's better, of course, but they're much, much closer in terms of talent. And I think Vlasic just sitting back there to add that calm. Now you've got, 3 or 4 guys you really, really trust. I would actually say the one guy I worry about is Levshinov, who is still going to do really good things a handful of times a game and a few scary things a couple times. But Wyatt Kaiser – for as much crap as I talked about him when he was holding out, he is coming to camp too and has been a stud and like a coach on the ice. So I feel good about this 6. I really do.
Yeah, I think this is a good mix. I think you get Alex Vlasic back in there. That's a steady, quote unquote, veteran presence. But it's not a guy that's going to be overtaken by the moment. I think. What I hope is that you kind of repurpose some of the adrenaline of opening night to, not feel like, you take a big exhale, but it doesn't feel overwhelming because now it's game 2 of the season. Like, okay, we got that first one out of the way. It was on ESPN, like all this stuff, banner night, all those things. Those things are gone. Now you're just in Boston playing the Bruins, and it's. Now you're into the regular season. Kind of like what you were talking about the other night about like how baseball opening day feels. It feels like it's its own type of game.
Everything's amplified.
Yeah, so now you've gotten that out of the way. Now it's like, okay, now you're actually in the regular season. So I hope that they kind of get away from those kinds of things that could maybe be distractions or maybe things that a lot of those young guys can like get too amped up for. And now you just kind of repurpose that into being like, let's start fast because we can kind of feel a little bit more comfortable now. And this Boston team played last night.
Yeah, this is their home opener.
This is their home opener, sure, but they're on night 2, and I know it's second game of the season, but playing back to back is still a tough challenge. So if you can get off to a fast start tonight against a team that played last night, who, by the way, they won 3-1, but it was not a 3-1 Bruins
36-22 shots for the Caps. They added an empty netter late to seal things.
Yeah, expected goals. I'm looking at it here by Natural Stat Trick. Expected goals for last night in the game where Washington lost 3-1. The expected goals were 4.3 to 2.4 in favor of the Capitals. So don't look. If you didn't watch the Bruins game, you could at least look at the metrics and say, well, the deserve to win meter was probably factoring towards Washington way more than it was Boston, even though the final score is what matters. And you got their backup tonight. Jeremy Swayman played last night. Eunice Korpisalo is going to be starting for the Bruins tonight. So still, not a bad goalie, but it's not Jeremy Swayman.
No, I mean, it's an opportunity for the Hawks tonight to, like you said, start fast, get them in that little buzz of the opener. Mm-hmm. Usually, sometimes the teams that play the night before can find their legs a little bit later, but it's early where they're a little bit sluggish.
Or they just use up everything that they have in the first period, and then they lose gas in the second and third.
Yeah, so it's a good opportunity. And look, even if it was 3 days rest for both teams, these are the kind of games you want to see the Hawks compete in. You want to see when the smoke clears, the old deserve to win meter that you mentioned be close to the middle. And if they win 4-3 or lose 4-3, like, you just want it, as we've been saying, leading into the season, you want it to look competitive. You want them to be right there and have a chance. And games like this with the backup goalie, back-to-back nights, these are the ones you want them to win. Yeah. If we're going to talk about going from 60-some points to 70-some points, these are the ones you have to have that maybe you wouldn't have had last year.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you want to be able to kind of roll the effort you had in the first game into the second game and build upon it, like we talked about in that post game Tuesday night. Like if that effort level and that kind of game can be their baseline, you're going to be in a lot of games this year. If you can, against the Panthers team that they were missing Barkov and Kachuk and everything, but if you can, that's still a very talented Panthers team. And if you can be, a third period goal away from the Panthers and have those moments where you do control, like in the second period, you control a lot of a majority of the possession and the flow. You have the flow of the game in your favor. If you can do that against the Panthers, roll that into doing it against the Bruins, it probably is going to feel a little bit different. Like you'd be able to kind of maybe punch a little bit more offensively against the Bruins than you would the Panthers. And if you get that going, you can get a little bit of confidence and momentum going for this group that truly they're not out of any game. And having that mentality compared to the last few years where you could probably say, we're definitely out of this game, so we're working, from behind, and you got to try and do everything you can to keep it close. Now you could have a mentality and a group and a talented group enough to be like, we're not out of a game. We're going to believe in ourselves until 60 minutes or 65 or whatever it ends up being, until it's over, until we are declared the loser. We're not out of a game.
The other bit here is Arvid Soderblom gets to start. Understandable. You've got another game Saturday night, your home opener. You want Spencer Knight to play in that one. I'm fine with it. I think he looked really good in camp, really good in preseason. You figured he was going to get one of these three. And I guess if you're picking it, this is the one. You want to give your best shot against Florida. You want to try to win the home opener. So Soderblom on the road in Boston feels like the right move.
Yeah, I think I'm completely fine with it. I know we've kind of talked about Spencer Knight being the starter, but I think you want to, at the beginning of the season, not burn a guy out. You start him the first 3-4 games of the year, maybe that's not the way that you want to go. But you also want to give Arvid Soderblom, who's had some good performances in the preseason as well, give him an opportunity, at least at the beginning of the year, to be like, hey, we're going to try and go 50-50 split or 60-40 split, whatever it is, before you definitively say, okay, Spencer Knight is the majority starter. So giving him this opportunity, Knight played his butt off against the Panthers. You get Soderblom in net. He won last season in Boston, so maybe hope that feels comfortable, in this setting. But yeah, I'm not based off of how he played last year. I'm not dreading a start by Arvid Soderblom. At least to begin this season, his play is going to dictate how that changes. But if this is the first opportunity for him to show that last season's Arvid Soderblom is the guy that you can bank on being the guy.
I hope so, because we've got, actually, because of last year, more evidence of him being a dependable backup than him being bad.
Yeah.
He's the reverse Philip Kurashev, which you never do that without permission. Consent when attempting to reverse Philip Kurashev, who's playing on the top line on the Sharks these days.
Good for him.
Who are ahead of the Hawks in rebuild, according to everyone.
Apparently. Sure. It's funny. I had a conversation in my DMs with a fan, Cody is his name, and he was kind of talking about, is it crazy to think that the Blackhawks won't be the worst team in the league, as many people are projecting, and I just feel like it's one game. I don't want to make grand declarations after one game, but if what we saw against the Panthers can be that baseline, I go back to my preseason prediction. I don't think that this team is going to be last in the league. I don't think they're going to be last in the Central Division. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people.
Well, I did pick them to be last in the Central.
A lot of people in the grand scheme of the NHL that are like, yes, they're definitely going to be last place.
Yeah, they weren't the worst team in the league last year by 9 points ahead of the Sharks?
Yeah.
And the Sharks added Ryan Reeves and Philip Kurashev, and
the Sharks added a bunch of guys that
they're the 2 years ago Hawks.
They might trade 9 or 10 of their players by the deadline. Like, they may not win a game after the trade deadline with the amount of players that are on expiring deals that have no future in San Jose. Like, you got, who knows what happens with Kurashev.
Adam
Gaudette, Jeff Skinner,
Reeves,
John
who we
Klingberg I think Orlov's on a 1-year deal. Like, they're gonna trade so many people.
2 years for Orlov, but
2 years? Okay,
Yeah.
well, even still.
and he's a good player, but
but yeah.
needle mover.
What's the
got Nick Leddy.
What's
They
the
have Nick Leddy.
Nick Leddy? Yeah, like what's the long-term outlook for those guys? It's trade deadline.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see. Sean, I saw you prepared a little fun game for us.
I did.
wanna
Also,
do this?
Philip in the chat was bringing up, you don't want to underestimate Boston. Last year, they had 2 back-to-backs where they won both games. Other than that, they split most of them. So
Well,
I
hopefully
don't know if
they
that
split
means
this
anything,
one.
but I think they played like 12 back-to-backs and only won back-to-backs in 2. All right,
Okay.
so here are the yay or nays. These are betting props that you can take. These are things that I'm interested in as a degenerate, so I want your expert takes.
We are not feeding your problem, Sean.
Use code CHGO365 when you sign up.
Yeah.
Bedard,
bet 365.
over 2.5 shots on goal at -115. Yes, or against the Panthers, he had 2.
So am I saying over is
Yay or
yay?
nay? to the
yes,
over.
Yay to over, nay to under.
Yay, over.
I also say yay
Yeah.
because one of those he had 2 shots on goal. One of them was off the crossbar, like a quarter of an inch, as they say in Mighty Ducks, the other direction, and he's going bar down for his first goal of the
Yes.
year.
And the Bruins don't defend like the Panthers. He'll have power play opportunities, power play shots.
Yeah.
I think the over is a safe one.
And then there was one person in the chat that said specifically they wanted a Bruin or former Bruin to score. Ryan Donato to record a point at +135. This was the former Bruin I picked.
If he wasn't moved off the top line, I'd say more yay than nay. But I think the expectation now with him and Dickinson and Mikheyev is going to be more of that, maybe a more defensive role. So I don't know how much offense they'll be looking for him to provide. But sometimes those lines, those shutdown lines, when you're not looking for them to provide something, they surprise you. So let's have some fun. Let's say yes, Ryan Donato against his former team gets a point.
I think you're also going to see a very salty Ryan Donato that he was quickly moved off the top line and something to prove.
Sure.
So I will say yes.
It's a challenge from Jeff Blashel. There's
I'm
a
sorry.
lot of
Yay.
Yay.
there's a lot of former Boston ties. You got, I know Spencer Knight's not playing, but he went to BC. Alex Vlasic and Matt Grzelcyk, or Ryan Green. No, I don't think Grzelcyk played at BU, but they went to BU. Matt Grzelcyk was a longtime Bruin. Nick Foligno.
And he is from Boston.
He is from, yeah. Nick Foligno, Tyler Bertuzzi, Ryan Donato, all former Bruins. Is there any more?
He did go to BU, by the way.
Yeah.
Grzelcyk?
Yep.
Okay, well, there you go. So, yeah, lots of former Boston ties.
Lots of Boston. Lots of Duncan being consumed.
All right, remember, this is yay or nay, not yes or no, Jay Zawoski. Hawks first period money line +120. We just kind of talked about it with maybe the Bruins possibly coming out slow and flat. Could the Hawks get out to an early lead?
Yay.
Yay, because it's fun.
Yeah, it's more fun to say that.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of Mario. He said yay to all 3 things so far.
Yeah.
So that's I love the optimism.
It's more fun to bet for more things to happen than less things to happen.
Bruins didn't look that great offensively. You talked about expected goals being 2.4. They had 2 going into the third. Their third goal was an empty net. Bruins under 3.5 goals. It's at a very juicy -155. So you got to feel strong about this one.
I'm gonna say
Yeah.
under 3.5. Yeah, under 3.5. Arvid Soderblom, he's gonna have a good game.
I'm going to say under 2 because I think the Hawks are going to win 4-3.
4-3.
That would count.
Okay.
So,
All right.
yes,
So
that's
we're
under
thinking a
3.5.
Hawks win. All right. And then this kind of goes with first period money line. Goal to be scored in the first 10 minutes, -145. Again, kind of going on the
I think
idea that
Nazar's goal on
Bruins
Tuesday
could be
was
quick.
like just under 10 minutes into the game, or it might have been
check.
just over 10 minutes. I can't remember.
right
It was
there.
right in the middle of the first
I got
period.
it right here. Hold on.
I'm gonna say
It's
no.
10:03.
10:03. I was right there. I'm gonna say no.
I'm going to say nay on that one, too.
Nay.
Nay.
All right. Well, those are the 5 that I had for you.
I like that. Good stuff. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Sean.
I can I just look say I'm looking at the Bruins lineup tonight. This doesn't scare me.
No.
Geeky, Lindholm, Pasternak. Yeah, Pasternak's amazing. Zaka, Middlestat, Arvidsson, Janot, Minton, Esamont, Kuznetsov, Corrali, Kastelik, Lahiri, McAvoy. He's good. Lindholm, Peak, Zadorov and Yokiharu, former Blackhawks, together, and Korpisalo in net. That doesn't scare me. Let's go. Let's.
Which, if they lose this game and we start the postgame pissed, it's justified.
Our chat's going to be extremely unhappy when either Nick Foligno doesn't get a revenge game hat trick or Tyler Bertuzzi gets a hat trick in this game.
They're both getting hat tricks.
Hawks are scoring 6. Foligno scoring 3.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Over. Take the over. Let's put it that way. All right, we'll be back for the postgame show as soon as the Hawks and Bruins wrap up. Big night here at CHGO. Cubs play at 8. The watch along will be happening again, right? So the Hawks game will be done by 8.
Should be done around 8:30.
8:30, yeah, 8:30.
We'll be in B.
We will be in B.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I don't care.
And I heard Studio
Covers my
C
gut.
is getting resurrected tonight.
Oh, nice. That one show we did there was fun. I enjoyed that thoroughly.
Yes. It was good.
Time for show
It's a
number 2.
Busy night at
Bulls
CHGO.
are here too. Bulls pre. So big night. Hit the like button on your way out. We'll talk to you as soon as the game ends right here on CHGO Blackhawks.
We all silly like the mayor.